Welcome, everyone. My name is Melanie McGackin, and I am excited to host the second session of the Rutgers Community Living Education Project's Prioritizing Your Health and Well-Being webinar series. The Rutgers Community Living Education Project, also known as CLEP, is a program through the Rutgers School of Public Health. The CLEP team can serve as a bridge for self-advocates and families whose loved ones are ready to explore various community living options. CLEP is committed to providing individual support and information surrounding community living resources for people with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities. The CLEP team contacts will be shared at the end of today's webinar. Today's presentation, Caregiver Stress and Burnout, How to Regain a Sense of Balance in Your Life, is being presented by Jannell Wilson, representing the Somerset County Office on Aging and Disability Services. Before we get started, let's go over how you can best participate in today's learning event. To access or hide the closed caption feature, please use the meeting toolbar. Click the Show Caption icon. This icon is identified by a square with the letters CC in the middle. To ensure the highest sound quality possible, all attendees will initially be muted during today's webinar. We do, however, like to keep these sessions interactive. So to ask a question to the presenter or host, please use the Q&A option on your screen. And to interact with the other attendees on today's session, please use the chat feature in your Zoom control panel. If you would like to be unmuted to ask your question live, please send a message and I will make sure to unmute your microphone during your turn. Topic-specific questions will be addressed as long as time allows, and for consideration to all of our attendees today, we encourage you to keep your questions as general as possible. On behalf of the Rutgers CLEP team, I am excited to welcome today's presenter, Jannell Wilson, to speak about caregiver stress and burnout, a topic that is much needed for all of us. Jannell, welcome.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm so grateful and excited for this opportunity to be here to share this space with you. Thank you, Melanie, for inviting me here today. As Melanie said, my name is Jannell Wilson. I'm the community educator from Somerset County Office on Aging and Disability Services. So our division works with individuals who take care of their family members or friends that are living with disabilities, chronic illnesses, frailty, vulnerabilities, or a combination of these conditions. So as you stated, I'll be discussing caregiver stress and burnout, and then also in the end, I'm just going to do a quick overview of some of the services our office provides. So while we know caregiving can be very rewarding, we also know that it all can be challenging and demanding. Research has shown that family members who provide the prolonged and extensive care are at risk of experiencing mental, emotional, and physical health problems that arise from complex caregiving situations. So something to think about, did you know that over 1/3 of caregivers who continue to provide intense care to others suffer from poor health themselves? So for the beginning of this presentation, we're just going to start out with an activity. This activity is the Perceived Stress Scale, PSS. At this time, if you can, please grab a pen and paper or something to keep track of scores that we'll be doing on the next slide. The PSS is a classic instrument for assessing stress, and it's a great tool to examine your stress levels from the previous month. This tool can also help us understand how different situations are affecting our feelings or our perceived stress. So as I stated on the next slide, you're going to find a scale and questions. Each question will ask you to indicate how often you felt a way or thought a certain way within the last month. So I'm going to read each statement out to you, give you some time, and then you're going to choose how you relate to this statement based on how it applies to you. So the answers you'll see is never, almost never, sometimes, fairly often, and very often. There are numbers on the scale, they will change for each statement. So I'm going to read each one out loud and also give you the opportunity to take your time and do these answers. So with the piece of paper and something to write with. You're going to number the paper from 1 to 10 so that you can write your answers down, or if you can use if you have access to a calculator, and that may be easier. And don't worry about remembering each one. For each of the statements that I read, you're going to write down the number on the scale that fits the most. And please try not to overanalyze. I know it may be difficult, overanalyze or overthink each of these questions, and try to answer as quickly as you can. So I'll give a few seconds just to get settled and be able to number the paper before I start reading these questions. All right. So number 1, how often in the last month have you been upset because of something that happened unexpectedly? 0 for never, almost never is 1, sometimes 2, fairly often 3, very often 4. All right. How often in the last month have you felt that you were unable to control the important things in your life? 0 for never, 1 for almost never, 2 for sometimes, 3 for fairly often, 4 for very often. Number 3, how often in the last month have you felt nervous and stressed? 0 for never, 1 for almost never, 2 for sometimes, 3 for fairly often, 4 for very often. Number 4, in the last month, how often have you felt confident about your ability to handle your personal problems? 4 for never, 3 for almost never, 2 for sometimes, 1 for fairly often, 0 for very often. Number 5, how often in the last month have you felt that things were going your way? 4 for never, 3 almost never, 2 sometimes, 1 fairly often, 0 very often. Okay, number 6, in the last month, how often that you found that you cannot cope with all of the things that you had to do? 0 for never, 1 for almost never, 2 for sometimes, 3 for fairly often, 4 for very often. Okay. Number 7, in the last month, how often have you been able to control irritations in your life? 4 for never, 3 for almost never, 2 for sometimes, 1 for fairly often, 0 for very often. Okay. Number 8, in the last month, how often have you felt that you were on top of things? 4 for never, 3 almost never, 2 sometimes, 1 fairly often, 0 very often. Okay. Number 9, in the last month, How often have you been angered because of the things that were outside of your control? 0, never. 1, almost never. 2, sometimes. 3, fairly often. 4, very often. And the last question, number 10. In the last month, how often have you felt difficulties were piling up so high that you could not overcome them? 0 for never, 1 for almost never, 2 for sometimes, 3 for fairly often, 4 for very often. Okay, so in the next slide, you're gonna see, we're just gonna talk about the scores and perceived stress. So I'm gonna give you a moment to add up your scores for each item to obtain your total. Hopefully everyone was able to do so. So the scores on the perceived stress scale can range from 0 to 40. Scores below 14 indicate low stress, while scores above 26 indicate high stress. Perception plays a significant role in determining the stress levels because it's based on your perception of what's happening in your life and what's important to you. For instance, we can consider two caregivers. We'll name them John and Carol. They might have experienced the same thing over the past month. However, based on their own perception, their score can be different. So maybe John can have a low stress category, while Carol's could put them in the high stress category. So I want you just to take some time and just think about your scores and how you felt within the last month. So did the scores from the PSS, did you find it surprising? Was it as expected? Okay, and next we'll talk about a little more about stress. Okay. So what is stress? Stress is your body's response to any pressure or demand. Stress is a natural response, but is it always bad? No, not necessarily. It can largely depend on how you handle the stress or how we respond to a situation. So the word stress in its definition doesn't necessarily carry the negative connotation. However, stress is often spoken about in a negative or upsetting way. Our stress response is necessary and can be beneficial in short or quick doses. It helps us deal with physically life-threatening situations by giving us more strength and allowing us to run faster and fight harder. So that adrenaline rush can be quite helpful in the case of emergencies. Stress, as I mentioned, is often seen as a negative thing, but not all stress is bad. So you have the eustress, also known as that good stress, that arises from demands of pleasant activities, maybe vacations, weddings, promotions, running, and other enjoyable experiences. And then we have the distress, on the other hand, that is the bad stress or the negative stress. So this is the stress that we experience in response to negative demands that we have to adapt to. So examples, cramming for finals, having a heavy workload, trouble relationships, and things of that nature. So it's important to note that stress is our body's response to a situation or demand. When we experience that stress for short periods of time and our body gets an adrenaline rush, that's that good stress, the eustress. And then our body reacts and has the adrenaline rush that comes back to the state of homeostasis, or that normal, that calm physical feeling. That's the good stress, even if we think the situation can be bad or maybe life-threatening. However, when you consider it the bad or the negative stress and we're getting too much of it, our body is not going to go back to normal. So we're going to remain in that continuous cycle of the anxiety and or the stress of it. So it is definitely crucial to recognize the difference between the eustress and the distress to maintain that healthy mind and body. And next, I'm going to talk about some of the responses, our body's responses to the high levels of stress. So when we experience the distress or the negative stress, our body can get stuck, as I said, in that cycle of anxiety, stress, instead of returning back to that normal, calm state. This can have damaging effects on our bodies, and it can lead to an increase in cortisol levels. So consistently elevated cortisol levels can cause various health problems. Increase in cortisol levels can interfere with your learning, your memory. When your body is stressed, it goes into survival mode and our brain function is affected. This means that the learning, the memory centers stop functioning and we can't process or store the information as effectively. It's like when you used to cram for a test and our brain feels overloaded with information, making it very difficult to recall that information. Stress can also lower our immune function, making it harder for our body to fight off illnesses. So when you're in continuous stress, your immune system breaks down, then it causes colds and all of that coming on, and you get weaker. It can also contribute to weight gain. So the cortisol levels can interfere with your body's natural processes and can cause you to overeat. Additionally, the stress can lead to higher blood pressure and cholesterol levels, which can increase the risk of heart disease and stroke. These are some of the more common health problems associated with prolonged stress, but there may be other issues that our body experiences during stressful periods. So you can also think about how does stress affect you physically. Sometimes, it gives people the stomach problems, headaches. So think about what is your pinpoint when you know that you reach that stressful point. How does your body tell you that you're under that stress? Okay. So some ways, as you see, to deal with stress, they can be positive, they can be negative. As you see listed here, some negative ways that people deal with stress include alcohol, smoking, drug use, overeating, and caffeine, which can definitely add to the stress. And then some of the more positive ways include exercise, meditation, yoga, maybe coloring, socializing with friends, family, and more holistic self-care practices. So I want you to, for a second, think of some of the ways that you cope with your stress, and has it been effective for you? Right. So here you see some of the common signs and symptoms of caregiver stress. So caring for a loved one, it can be a rewarding experience, but it can also definitely be a challenge. As a caregiver, sometimes we feel guilty for taking time to ourselves, but it's always important to remember that taking care of yourself is not selfish. Taking care of yourself can help you better support your loved one. So recognizing the signs of caregiver stress and burnout is essential to prevent these things from getting worse and improve your situation for both you, your loved one, and your family. So listed here, you'll see some of the common signs to look out for. So this includes anxiety, depression, irritability, feeling tired and run down, difficulty sleeping, maybe overreacting to minor nuisances, new or worsening health problems, maybe trouble concentrating, feeling increasingly resentful, drinking, smoking, eating more, neglecting your responsibilities, and maybe even isolating or cutting back on your social outlets and leisure activities. So if any of these signs that I mentioned resonate with you, it's important to take immediate action take care of yourself, you'll always, as I mentioned, be able to provide better care for your loved one. And remember that self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. So here you'll see some of the common signs and symptoms of caregiver burnout. So it's common for caregivers to focus on their loved ones' needs, but there's research that shows that caregivers often face, as I said, the physical and emotional health risks. The increased risk can lead to a higher than average incident, as I mentioned, of heart disease, high blood pressure, and maybe even emergency room visits. So you just want to take a moment, if you can, look and think about if any of these signs or symptoms mentioned in the slide are familiar to you. Caregivers have also been shown to experience decreased immunity and sleep deprivation, which can result in irritability and frustration, making it more challenging to deal with our personal responsibilities and day-to-day caring for our loved one and other family members. Additionally, care partners are at higher risk of depression, anxiety, and grief. So here we're going to try, if you can, do this exercise, a practice of the art of self-compassion. So most of us are our own worst critic. We're harsher on ourselves than on others. We can be very unforgiving and overly critical in our own internal dialogue and constantly running through our own head. So just think about if we spoke to others in the same way that we spoke to ourselves internally, will we have many friends left? So you just want to practice self-love, self-kindness, and self-compassion because those are essential to our well-being and building meaningful connections with ourselves and others. The lack of self-kindness can also contribute to that stress and trying to be perfect, making it very difficult to meet our own standards. So according to Dr. Kristen Neff, her link is on the webpage if you click her name. She is an expert on self-compassion. Self-compassion involves being warm, being understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate. Maybe you just need a quick pick-me-up for that day. It also means recognizing that suffering and personal inadequacy are part of being human and cultivating that mindfulness to avoid getting caught up in those negative thoughts that we sometimes can have. Having greater self-kindness and self-compassion can help us become happier and more connected with those around us. It can also play a vital role in our healing, both physically and emotionally. So Dr. Neff has an exercise on supportive touch. It's a simple way to care for and comfort ourselves during difficult periods. So that touch activates the care system and parasympathetic nervous system, so it helps to calm us down and make us feel safe. So if you can, we're going to take a moment to just practice this. So you can try it in many different ways, whatever works for you. So maybe you can try putting your hand on a part of your body during these difficult periods that you're having, maybe one time a day, several times a day, whenever you need it. So you can maybe put your hand on your heart, maybe it's your cheek or your abdomen, or any soothing area, or maybe just give yourself a hug. And when you do it, just take a moment and say, like, I got this, I can do it. This is not forever. And just feel, like, take a moment to do it and see how it feels and say to yourself, I got this. This is my day. I can do this. And think about, while you're saying it, how it makes your body feel and if it calms your body down. Okay. So that touch of your hand can provide you with that sense of security. It can soothe distressing emotions and calm your cardiovascular stress. So calm you down. And I hope you're able to do that quickly and feel that the calm coming over your body. Okay. And next, hopefully everybody was able to quickly practice that. And now that we practice some of that self-compassion, and that is one tool in your toolkit that maybe you can try on a day. Maybe things are hectic and you just want to quickly give yourself that whole talk to yourself. Let yourself know you got this. This is not the end. We're going to talk about self-care. So have you been taking good care of yourself? So we all know, and everybody emphasizes how important self-care is, but do we actually commit to that self-care? So take a moment and just think about, what do you do for self-care, and what comes to your mind when you hear this phrase? Okay. So self-care is that practice of taking action to preserve or improve our health. And it goes beyond, I know it's also good though, the bubble baths, the using the face mask. It's more of that holistic approach, something that becomes a routine or eventually a lifestyle for you. That good self-care is taking care of our physical health, our emotional health, our mental well-being, to prevent and manage that stress as best as we can. So this can include getting regular sleep, although sometimes it's not possible. You want to try and get that 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Maybe exercising, so taking a walk for 30 minutes a day if you can. Or maybe try running if you like to run, 15 minutes a day, but just to get that physical activity and get that peace of mind and take that break. Maybe practicing some relaxation techniques such as yoga or meditation, and try eating a healthy, nutritious diet. So we will do another activity, if you can, to just practice some relaxation and see if that will work for you as well. Next, we're just going to highlight some of the coping techniques. So as we're going to continue to mention, it can be stressful, but there are ways to prevent the caregiver burnout and try and find that balance in your life. So I'm just going to highlight, there are a lot of coping techniques, but I'm just going to highlight some of the tips. So try to avoid feeling powerless. So feeling helpless can be a major contributor to that caregiver burnout, that depression. However, you can control your state of mind. You can find that happiness and hope even in difficult situations. And like we said, in that moment of self-compassion, maybe you need to grab yourself. Once again, I got this. This is not going to get me today. I can do this. Practice acceptance. So try not to dwell on the things that you can't change and searching for someone to blame. It's not productive, but you want to try and make peace with your caregiving choice. Focus on the positive reasons and try to avoid feeling sorry for yourself. It is rewarding, and as we say, it's very challenging, the day-to-day, but it is a rewarding experience, and the loved ones can't do what they do without you. Take an organized approach. So try to keep track of the medical and legal papers, medications, appointments. Try to break down these tasks into more manageable chunks. Maybe try creating a daily to-do list, whether it be on paper, by phone, working through and try and work through it one task at a time. Look for that silver lining. So think about how caregiving has made you stronger and brought you closer to that loved one. Invest in the things that give you meaning and purpose. So maybe families, hobbies, careers. Try and look for the positive. Feel appreciated, because you are appreciated. Feeling appreciated can significantly impact accepting this stressful situation and enjoying your life more. If you're not getting the external validation, find ways within yourself to acknowledge what you are doing, the great work, all the help, and try and reward yourself. Maybe if you have a support system, family, friends, turn to those who will listen to you and help you identify. Sometimes we have challenges like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, but help you acknowledge your efforts and, reward you as well. Ask for help. I know can be very difficult, even though sometimes we don't like asking for help, but trying to handle everything alone is not sustainable. Um, Maybe you can consider finding respite care options, maybe trying to hire a volunteer or get paid help to provide some in-home services, whether it be occasionally, maybe once a week, or you can do something more regularly if that works for you. Um, Try to speak up and communicate some of your concerns to family members. If possible, maybe scheduling regular family meetings to ensure. I know everyone's busy, so it might be challenging, but now we have technology. So schedule those family meetings and ensure everyone is on the same page. And lastly, one of the tips, which we're going to continue to emphasize, take care of your own health. So please, as hard as it can be, do not neglect your health. So keep track of your doctor visits. Try to get that exercise in, whether it be a quick maybe YouTube video, or like I said, walking, and eat a healthy diet. So you need to be healthy. You can't pour out of your cup if you're not full. So you need to be healthy to take good care of your family member. So please practice self-care. All right. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, once again, it's important to prioritize the self-care. So when you're feeling depleted, that's when you need to fill your cup up the most. So let's say like a car that needs gasoline to run. If the tank is empty, the car is not going anywhere. So similarly, if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to function effectively. So making this self-care a priority is a personal decision, and it may require effort to change your behavior. But once again, here are some tips to prioritize that self-care and make positive changes and stick to them. So first, set a goal. So with the goal, you want to be specific about what you want to achieve. So maybe you could aim to spend 5 minutes a day focusing on your breathing, or maybe plan to hang out with friends and not think about work or responsibilities for at least 3 times a week to give you that little break. Next, you want to make a plan. So you want to identify the steps that you need to take you to meet your goal. And then if you need to, break it down into smaller, more manageable and realistic tasks. Next, write it down. So with your phone, if you like to do pen and paper, you can write your plan down, and this will increase your chances of success by about 30%. And then if that doesn't work for you, you can also tell someone about your plan for added accountability, so to give you that extra push that you may need. Next, get support. So find someone to support you in these efforts of reaching your goals. So this can be a friend, maybe who wants to try the same thing, or maybe a mentor or a coach who can guide you to reach your goal. Next, reward actions, not just results. So you want to celebrate the small steps that you take along the way, rather than just focusing on the end goal. Every day with personal responsibilities, caregiving responsibilities, small steps are a win. So you need to acknowledge and reward yourself for those and celebrate. Turn bad days into good data. So see the setbacks as opportunities to learn, to grow. Analyze what happened and think about how you can do it differently next time if it didn't work. And give yourself at least maybe 3 chances before giving up on a new behavior. So next we are going to do, like I said, another activity just to see if this would be helpful for you, just to relax and can be part of your self-care routine. It is a progressive muscle relaxation. So we're going to take this moment. It's important to note that everyone may not be interested or able to practice meditation or yoga. There are other effective ways to reduce stress that anyone can try, but we'll try this experience. And this form of mindfulness can be easily practiced in as little as 5 minutes. So just bear with me. I'm going to switch over to the video right now, please.
Progressive muscle relaxation. Stress, whether you realize it or not, creates tension in the body. Patients with rheumatic diseases tend to have a lot of muscle tension, especially when trying to cope with the daily joint stiffness and pain. This next exercise, known as progressive muscle relaxation, involves purposely tensing and relaxing different muscles so you can more easily identify the difference between feeling tense and feeling relaxed. Just like the first exercise, the end goal here is to feel less stressed. Also, it's important to note that you should not engage in any of these exercises if you have pain in different parts of the body or distress or limitations. You should not be in any discomfort while doing these exercises, so please feel free to modify or eliminate any of the strategies as you see fit. Let's practice. Again, find a comfortable place to either sit or lie down. You can begin by taking a few deep, relaxing breaths. Let's begin by bringing attention to your feet. Curl your toes in tightly to feel the tensing muscles of the foot, of both feet. Hold this for a few moments before releasing the tension and relaxing the feet. Do you notice the difference? Noticing the difference between a tense and relaxed muscle is the purpose of this exercise. Now we're going to repeat this relaxation exercise with different parts of the body. Now, point your feet down, pointing the toes down toward the floor, feeling the tension in your calf muscles. Hold that for a few moments and release. Once again, noticing that change from moments of tension and moments of relaxation. Now, bringing attention to the thigh muscles, point the toes upward toward the ceiling, feeling the tension in the large muscles of the thighs. Hold that for a few moments, and when you're ready, begin to release. Now bring attention to the buttocks, tightening the muscles of the buttocks as you sit or lie on the floor. Once again, holding this for a few moments and gently relaxing. Bringing attention to the belly, to the muscles of the abdomen, and tensing these muscles as if you're bringing your belly button in, pushing your belly button in toward the spine, and holding here for a moment and gently relaxing. Noticing the back, and here just gently arching the lower back and seeing if you can feel the tension along the muscles in the back as you arch the back. Hold for a moment or two and then slowly release. Working our way up to the shoulders, a place where we tend to hold a lot of tension. Bringing your shoulders up towards your ears, squeezing them up, holding them for a moment, and slowly and gently releasing the shoulders. Now focusing on the hands, making the hands into a fist and squeezing tightly. Hold it another moment and slowly release. Now working up to the arms. You can just gently keep the fists if you like and bring the lower arms toward the upper arms. Pulling the forearms up towards the upper arms, tightening the biceps, and slowly releasing. And finally, bringing attention to the face and the mouth. Here, we're going to squeeze our eyes tight, holding them shut tight, pursing the lips. Holding for a moment and slowly relaxing. Once you've tensed and relaxed all of these muscles, notice how your body feels. Allow yourself to feel totally relaxed as you sit or lie here. You can do this exercise daily. If you have time, you can tense and relax each series of muscles twice for a more extensive relaxation exercise.
All right. So I hope we are feeling a little bit more relaxed after that. Think about how your body is feeling if you were able to participate in that activity. Are you feeling relaxed? Is that something you could see yourself doing? Maybe trying to start maybe that one day a week to help you with that self-care. So that is the progressive muscle relaxation. So that's a technique that helps you become more aware of your body and your surroundings in the present moment. So sometimes we focus on future, we worry, we get anxiety about what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day. So this will help you be in the moment and focus on the now and what you can do to take care of yourself and what needs to get done. So by focusing on your muscles and gradually relaxing them, you can reduce those cortisol levels. So as we mentioned in the beginning, those high levels can lead to health problems such as the lower immunity, the high blood pressure and cholesterol, and the weight gain. So this relaxation technique can help bring your body back to that state of equilibrium, bring you that physical balance, bring you back into that calm state of mind. All right, and next I'm just going to provide some resources for managing your caregiver stress. So self-compassion exercises, as we tried, the Family Caregiver Alliance. So this provides services for caregivers, including the care planning, wellness programs, National Respite Locator. If you don't know where to look or you want to see what's in your area, what the options are, this will help you find local services. Caregiver Connect, so help you if you need additional support and share your experiences. Working Daughter, so this allows women and men to balance. If you are in that sandwich generation and maybe you're taking care of a child or a younger loved one, but maybe also caring for an aging loved one as well, this can also be an additional resource for you because that is a lot of stress trying to care for multiple people. And then the Caregiver Action Network. So this is a toolbox that provides educational resources to help caregivers manage specific challenges. Okay, so I'll give a moment to show these resources, and then I'm just going to give a brief overview of some of the services we have in our office and some that may benefit caregivers as well, and then I'll be out of your way. And then quickly, just before I end, like I said, I'm just going to take a moment to share some other programs that we have through the office, some of the services that we provide in our office for our residents. So we do provide application assistance, linkage to community resources, and referrals. And then we do have specialized services, and some of them, like I said, benefit caregivers. So we have the professional in-home education, which is our program for caregivers of aging loved ones. And then we have Project Lifesaver and the personal assistance program, which I'll run through very quickly. So Project Lifesaver is very beneficial for the caregivers that we have in the program. So this is for maybe you have a loved one who is at risk for wandering, getting lost. So this is a community-based program, and we are in partnership with the Sheriff's Department. It was founded in Virginia, but it is a nationwide program, which is very cool. It assists with locating this individual. It's not a GPS program, but we do have, the Sheriff's Office has equipment to try and locate these individuals, and then we also have the additional resources. So just some of the individuals who may benefit from Project Lifesaver are seniors we have on the program right now with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, traumatic brain injury, or other neurological disorders, and then our youth who have a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, Down syndrome, TBI, or other neurological disorders that may impact their cognitive ability. For our county, they have to actively, for Somerset County, they have to actively be wandering, accompanied by someone 24/7, because that is the only way that this program will be effective, and living within the community. And as I said before, it is a nationwide program. New Jersey does have this program, and every county can vary. So you want to reach out to them just to see what the eligibility would be, if this is something that you would be interested in. And our youth for us is ages 6 through 21. And like I said, that can be different from county to county. Sorry. And then next is just the Personal Assistance Services Program. So we call it PASP. And this program is just a statewide program to help individuals who are living with a permanent physical disability remain active in their community. So I'll briefly go through like program eligibility, just to explain. So they have to be a New Jersey resident living in the community who's permanently physically disabled. They must be over the age of 18. So maybe transitioning out of school. They must be able to self-direct their own care, because they will become the employer in the program and be able to hire their own employees. They would need assistance with one ADL, so maybe that's bathing, toileting, walking around in the community, or within the home, dressing. They cannot be on Medicaid or Medicaid eligible, and they must be employed, attending school or training program, or if possible, involved in volunteer work. And just a brief example of how it works. So they would be allotted a budget through the state. So for 20 hours, if they were awarded, they can get up to 40 hours a week. Their monthly budget would be $1,565. And with that money, they can hire a loved one or agency to help them with their personal care, errands, transportation, use a small percentage of the budget for medical consumables. So maybe something that insurance does not cover, or if they have to pay for transportation, or they can bank this money, so save it for maybe a larger expense. So maybe a home or vehicle modification that is related to their disability. So PASP offers individuals the choice, the flexibility, and control to manage their own personal care services by, as I mentioned, choosing who provides this service, tailoring the service to meet their own schedule and needs, using some of that funding for needs that insurance is not covering, stay enrolled through life changes. So if they go from school to employment, they can still be eligible for this program, and they also can stay connected in their community. Okay, so that just wraps up my presentation. I hope it helped. And here is just, I'll briefly give my contact information just in case you have any questions about the presentation or about the programs or our office. Our number is 908-704-6346. And then my email is jwilson@co.somerset.nj So thank you again, everybody. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed giving this presentation. I hope that you learned something from it or got something for your toolbox. I was really glad to be here today. Thank you.
Jannell, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate all the information and resources that you were able to share. On the screen, you will see the CLEP's contact information. And Jannell, if you can just forward the slide, it would be appreciated. Thank you so much. And we're going to leave it on the screen just for another minute or so. This is actually going to be a link to our post-eval. It's information that you provide us that allow us to better serve the community for future presentations. It takes about 30 seconds. It should pop up on the screen as we're preparing to say goodbye after we get to a couple of questions. Again, just know it's a really quick survey and it does help us really tailor future presentations to better address your needs. Jannell, if you're comfortable, you can stop share and we'll answer a few questions if you still have time. I do just want to quickly put in, I know that someone was requesting the Essex County contact for the Office of Aging and Disability Services. I am going to put that in the chat section now, so take a look for that. And we did have quite a few questions coming in. The first question is, how do you turn down the stress when the source is never going away? I feel like you offered a lot of beautiful coping suggestions, but is there any other specific advice you can provide someone?
So that is the thing. It's very challenging when you can't get rid of, well, not, I don't want to say get rid of, but when they're constantly with you. So that's where maybe taking a second to just walk away if possible. Taking that quick break, because sometimes it's very difficult. So you try and find what helps you. So I know I had someone who say, like, I just go in the backyard and I just take a quick scream, like, or I scream in my pillow really quickly, and that helps release the stress. But if you're looking for other options, that's where, like, if possible, the respite care may come in. And even if it could be, you know, that one time you just need that quick break, or reaching out, you know, to agencies to see if there's anything that you might be eligible for. There are resources that you don't know about that could help you with that respite, because we all need that break. And it's hard to be under that constant stress. So start by trying to see, okay, what technique will work for me? Can I just give myself that hug today? Like, really quickly, do I need that? So hopefully that gave you a little bit of help, because that is a challenging thing.
Absolutely. And again, right, I think the information that Jannell was able to share with us today, hopefully you're able to pull some of those coping strategies that she shared to try to incorporate, right, very briefly, because sometimes that's all we have, right? Sometimes as caregivers, we'll have, you know, 2 minutes to ourselves, right?
Yes.
As we're taking a quick bathroom break, right?
Exactly.
If we're waking enough to do that alone.
Yes.
And when you do, you know, when you do take that moment, out of all those coping strategies that Jannell shared, what might work for you? And that might be trial and error. You know, try a few things out. I will share, there was about a 9-month period and our family's life that my son was inpatient in the hospital. And we were actually introduced to mindful meditation. We actually just did a webinar last month, Jannell, on exercise, the benefits of exercise and mindful practices. And when Dr. Bullard from Rowan University was sharing the information, it really sort of threw me back to when we would do some of those guided mindful practices. You could just find them on YouTube, right? And some of them are a few minutes. Some of them will go a half hour. It was probably one of the first times that I ever felt truly relaxed and able to focus on my breathing and clear my mind. It sort of rejuvenated me, right, for a short period of time to get back in the game and do what I needed to do. And also, I think, and again, we don't all have the same luxuries. So by all means, I am not imposing what worked for me onto someone else, because you might not have the same supports today, but we never know what tomorrow looks like.
Right, right.
And I think I really needed to take a step back because I was an expert in caring for my son and caring for other family members who were aging and ill and needed 24-hour supports, and trying to find that balance between caring for the people within my home while also caring for people outside of my home. And I had to realize, as much as, yes, I was the expert, there were other people that were doing it just as well as I was able to, after I was able to really connect with that person and share why we do what we do. And loosening some of that control and being able to ask for help really I found a benefit in that for my family. Again, I'm not saying that that's going to work for everyone else, but for me, that really allowed me to better reconnect with what I needed in my own life for me to live, happier and healthier myself.
Yes.
So perfect. So again, we're going to send out this information, and we strongly suggest reading through some of the tips that Jannell is sharing on her PowerPoint, and also re-listen to this session and see if any of those coping strategies will allow you to find the skills to live a, happier and healthier you also.
Absolutely.
So we have a few more questions. Actually, this is a great one. How can I become more compassionate during the evening when constantly being woken up, trying to find better ways to cope? Jannell, any suggestions?
That's a great question.
It is.
That is a great question. Maybe sometimes, if possible, trying to find, I know sometimes it might be hard for like structure, or trying to find that routine, maybe for the loved one, so they'll be more relaxed. Are they waking up throughout the night is what it is, or they're just constantly getting up in the evening? Because I would say trying to find that routine to calm them down, get them kind of relaxed, can possibly help you. That's a great question, though. I'm trying to think.
I feel like music
Yeah,
is a beautiful
like
thing.
soothing.
Again, not for
Music.
everyone, that's something we used to do when my son was having frequent wake ups in the evening. Very soft, soothing, natural music would help me. I would have to be in the room with him, right? Oh, here we actually got some more information. He wakes up for bathroom and to be repositioned several times. Okay. So it's something that the caregiver needs to
Right.
be assisting
So
with.
that makes it kind of difficult.
Yeah. One of the things I do want to definitely stress, depending on who you're caring for, talk to your healthcare provider, right? Call the Office of Aging and Disability Services. You're going to want to talk to whoever is supporting you and the person that you're caring for, because we all know different resources, and to see if there's any additional support that you or that person can receive is definitely going to be beneficial. But also talking, we all need support in our life. Just to be able to talk, the conversation alone quite often is very therapeutic, right? Getting things off our chest allows us to cope better moving forward in the future. So making sure that you're connecting with whether that's your best friend, or if needed, try to have the medical professionals in your life help you identify a therapist that is going to allow you to be able to move forward in a more productive way. So yeah, don't lose sight of that. I think the information, I do want to stress, the information that we're sharing today are some light suggestions, right, of how people can incorporate some of these strategies throughout their day to see if that's helping you. But quite often as caregivers, there is a different level of focus on our mental health that needs to be taken for us to do the jobs that we need to continue to do for the people that we love and support. So we don't want to lose sight of that or minimize that in any way. So,
Absolutely.
and I do see that people, a few people have shared that they are the sole caregiver. That's always a stressor. Again, reach out to those people that can provide additional resources, right? Whether that is accessing new programs available to help you financially pull in some support so that you're able to get a very brief respite, whether that's a few minutes a day, an hour, or a week at a time, right? If someone has that luxury, that's
Right.
wonderful. So reach out to the people that are connected to your support circle and seeing what they can suggest for financial means, but also how to identify the individuals to help support you, right? Because that's often a barrier, whether someone has a disability or someone is aging, that finding the right fit can be a struggle for some people. So we do want to recognize that also.
Yes, absolutely. Great point. And like she said, reaching out to your informal supports, and sometimes it's hard to make the call with everything going on, but definitely reaching out to those additional resources, because sometimes it might be the one thing that you're focusing on, but when you reach out to these formal supports, they can help you identify some other needs that may be helpful to you and, you know, reduce the stress with you, hopefully. So definitely do not forget those supports, and do not be afraid to try and ask for help to see what's out there. There's so many things out there. It's just trying to figure out how you can find out about those services and that help and support.
Jannell, I know we are a few minutes over. So I do again want to thank you for all the
You're
information
very welcome.
and
Thank you for having
suggestions.
me.
No, thank you. That you were able to share with us today. Again, on behalf of the CLEP team, thank you everyone for joining us today. We really hope that you were walking away with some strategies that you might be able to put in place for your life or for the people that you're supporting, right? A lot of times there's stress on those individuals also, and maybe doing some of these practices together might be a win-win.
Yes.
But by all means, you know, we encourage you to join us for our upcoming presentations. And don't forget that quick survey that you're going to see at the end of this presentation. I did see that we had quite a large attendance for this session. So it does show that there is a valid need.
Yes, yes.
Jannell, thank you again.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, everyone.
well,
Thank you,
everyone.
Melanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.